Let's welcome the one of the newer members to the club, the person that brings our age average way down, Miss Ginny White.
What's the opposite of an elder? A younger. Well, I put this together fairly quickly for two reasons. One, I learned last week that I was doing this, and two, I'm a procrastinator that thrives under chaos. So first thing about me. Okay, my name is Virginia, but I go by Ginny, and this is my classification talk. I feel like to start out, one of the things being born and raised in Arlington is the quote, "Everyone dies famous in a small town." And it is very surreal to me to be in Rotary because as someone who was born in Arlington and grew up here, there are so many names that you hear but like don't associate with the face, like the Lee Harmon Eye Clinic, you know, or Duskins, or you're the dental guy. And it's like, it feels very surreal to me to be someone that is now a part of those people. So thank you for asking me to be a part of Rotary. I am in a large family. My family moved here from Illinois when my parents got into kind of a crazy situation and divorced. So I'm one of 11 children between those two pictures. Both my parents are remarried. And I was primarily raised by those two adorable old people, my nanny and papa. I went to Kent Prairie, post-middle school, Arlington High School. So I'm a product of the Arlington School District, whether that's good or bad. And my mom worked for Regions Blue Shield in Seattle, which is pretty much why my grandparents raised me, because she was working all the time, even though she's a lovely, incredible woman. And dysfunction is my normal. So that's why I thrive under chaos. It's a lot of children, and I'm the youngest, except for one. So growing up, when my mom remarried, she remarried a active duty Navy. So that's an adorable little picture of me in the bottom corner with his suit on. I have 9 older siblings, so I frequently got duct taped to chairs and trees and whatnot. As an adorable picture of volleyball here at the Boys and Girls Club, which I thought was fun. I was pretty much the problem child that was at Cascade Valley Hospital all the time with broken arms and what have you. So it's pretty much the main bane of my mom's existence. I rode my bike down the hill in Portage Green in the trailer park I grew up in and knocked out 6 teeth, had braces. None of my other siblings like ever had any issues. So I was pretty much the naughty one in my family. But growing up in a trailer park, being very poor, having lots of siblings never really stopped me from doing what I wanted to do. I was always the kid going around picking up pop cans or selling lemonade, and that's pretty much translated into my adult life as well. As far as Rotary is concerned, service was always a part of my life, thanks to my grandparents that raised me. My grandpa, who just passed away, is like one of the most incredible people that I know as far as service is concerned, and being the youngest, I spent most of my time with him. My grandma ended up disabled, and he was a mechanic. So we spent most of our days in situations like that, where we were picking up other people's vehicles and fixing them for them, or buying broken down vehicles to give them to people who couldn't afford vehicles. And it was pretty much the coolest upbringing that I could have imagined. I think I talked about this before during Happy Bucks, but that picture in the corner is my grandma getting a Rotary Service Award in Illinois. She was pretty much known for baking cookies, or, just like meeting whatever need people had in her community. She got in a crazy car accident. So that's a picture of her up at Regency Care Center after she was disabled. And one of the cool things with that is that meant that we got to spend a lot of time there, especially me and my grandpa, with my older siblings being in school. So I don't know if anyone's familiar with Minutes with Martha. They used to happen up there, but he played piano and I would sing with all the old people. And it's just a very unique childhood, which led to getting to do a lot of things like working at camps and whatnot associated with our church. One of the more unique things about growing up was that nothing ever stopped us from traveling. My grandpa worked for Consul out of Illinois for all of his career. And so he had one of the state park passes that's like good for your lifetime, that you can go to any state park anytime. So saved a lot of money that way. We had this big red van that fit all the children, 18 passenger. And he got a cheap gas because he worked for Consul. So there was all these gas stations across country that we could go to. And so we never went anywhere cool as far as like, expensive or going into the museums and stuff, but we always found some way to have fun. So, and in high school, it's pretty much the epitome of an involved kid. I played bari sax and band, did marching band and all the fun stuff that goes with that. I was on the same soccer team my whole life. I'm pretty obsessed with soccer, did cross country. I was involved in YD, so I got to do a lot of fun trips that way. And I started working at Olympic Place. This quote I found pretty much sums up my life. When I graduated high school, I got married right away, which if anyone knows Dick Post, he was very upset by that and said that I should not get married right out of high school, and adamantly tried to get me to not do that. But I did not listen, and it was a good decision, but just kind of funny. So adulting is pretty much Googling how to do stuff. I don't have a long line of credentials. I did not go to college. I don't have anything fancy about myself, but I've Googled my way to being in Rotary in front of people who do have lots of credentials and fancy things. So I really don't know how that happened, but nonetheless, I worked at Olympic Place. I became a CNA. And during the year that I was engaged, I just worked night shifts and made wedding crafts and made it through. The kind of like hustler nature that I described to pay for my wedding, I literally like took wax and like reshined my shoes that I had and sold them to pay for my wedding dress and stuff, and just made sure that it was all perfect. So it ended up being awesome. But the reality check of adulthood hit pretty fast. We kind of had 6 months where we lived at this really incredible farm out in Oso that we rented, and it was very dreamy. Anyway, I ended up getting pregnant with my first child, Ryder. Thanks. Okay. Anyway, basically Googled how to be parents too. So I ended up getting pregnant 6 months after we got married, and lost that child at 18 weeks. This is hard to talk about, sorry, but it's important. Thanks. So anyway, it ended up being a pretty big reality check on just the state of my health, and I was seemingly healthy, but I realized that stress was kind of this silent killer in my life with the way that I grew up and all the things. So I ended up going to the hospital, having a pretty traumatic experience. I was just really defeated and depressed. And kind of the combination of that experience, and then also I ended up becoming a med tech at Olympic Place after that to have an easier time on my body. And I just saw the reality of what healthcare was through my experience, and how all these people just had like, buckets of pills that they took every day, and seeing the reality of my health led to God kind of taking the wheel and leading me to how he would have me serve in the world. So it was 7 weeks after I got pregnant again with my son Bentley, who's now 5, that Jessica Ronhart said I should apply at Symmetry Chiropractic. I didn't know anything about chiropractic care or the famous Dr. Devin, but everyone else seemed to know who he was. And so I did, and the rest is history. I didn't get hired the first time, but then that person didn't show up for work. So God kind of orchestrated all of that. And Devin called me back begging me to take the job, and I did. And I'm really glad. Basically just made all the suffering that I had went through feel like it was for a purpose, but it kind of took a while to get there because I was pregnant, and I didn't really know then that that would be the path to healing physically, mentally, and spiritually for me, but it was. So I had an incredible pregnancy with Bentley, complete opposite of the first time. I got chiropractic care all through that and ended up having a natural birth with a special delivery company and a healthy, lovely little child. So it's pretty incredible. Kind of what we didn't know then is the importance of care for kids. So when Bentley was first born, he really didn't get adjusted enough because the standard was just like, you've probably heard you get a baby adjusted when they're first born if they have kind of a crazy birth, and then they don't really need to get adjusted for a while because they're not falling and they're not stressed or what have you. So that was kind of the case for Bentley. And then as he grew up, he had a lot of sensory issues. He had issues nursing. He never slept through the night. So that's kind of what, for me as the office manager of Symmetry, kind of sparked this mission to learn more about how to help him. And we ended up connecting with a group called the Pediatric Experience. And they're kind of paving the way for pediatric chiropractic and basically just like showed us how to take care of kids and really like led the clinic to what it is now. And Bentley is now a thriving kiddo that's almost a kindergartner, and all those issues are resolved. So what is chiropractic? So from what I've said is probably a lot different than what you've heard before, but truly is the future. It's like I talked about with being at Olympic Place, it's like you kind of see what, how people are turning out with having to take all these medications and having all these ailments and having to be in facilities where they need all this help. So that's why it's so dear to my heart, because I love elders and I also love kids. And so it's important to me that the next generation really thrives from the beginning and through their whole life so that you don't have to see people in the state that they are now. It's truly very heartbreaking if you've ever spent any amount of time in a nursing home. So these are two quotes I like. Medicine is the study of disease and what causes man to die. Chiropractic is the study of health and what causes a man to live. And the power that made the body heals the body. So essentially, chiropractic is just removing the interference in the body and allowing the healing to happen and the full expression that is within from that power to shine so that people can be who they were created to be. So anyway, in our clinic, we're very focused on families. We're a pediatric prenatal and family-focused clinic. So basically what we do is just create healthy families. So one workshop that we do that really is the epitome of what we do in the clinic is called the perfect storm. So it's basically just the idea that especially kids, young kids in today's world experience so many stresses that people don't really equivocate to stress. Like we think stress is finances or whatever, but kids have very traumatic births these days. Processed food, if you've ever watched your grandkids, like what they're eating, it's like can't even be identified as food, and it's really a chemical to the body. And then just chronic use of meds and antibiotics for all the illness that they're dealing with these days. And as far as families are concerned, it's like everyone in a family faces different stresses to adapt to. So when kids aren't thriving, parents are stressed out, dads don't know how to handle their stressed out wives, and really a family that gets adjusted together is a healthy family, and that's what we believe. So working in the clinic has given me the opportunity to be involved in a lot of different aspects of service, the Runners Club being one of my favorites. Obviously, all of you know about the Runners Club, but I also got to be in charge of the beer garden last 2 years, which was so fun. And then that's the clubhouse at Seven Lakes in the middle. I somehow very naively took on renovating that project, and I'm glad that I did, but it was at the beginning. I don't know if it was pandemic time yet. Nonetheless, it was way more than I could handle, nor nothing that I had ever done. And there was so many tears. I feel like I'm a crier through and through, but is an insane amount of tears to that project, but it's renovated. So if you have not been in there, you should. And then I was involved a lot with YD as a student. So it was awesome this weekend to get to be a part of one of the first Rotary Service projects, painting the new mud hut. So my life now, I'm kind of at the most interesting transition I feel like a person at in life. I don't really know how to explain it. But Dwayne said it perfectly at the Rotary project on Saturday. He said when they surveyed millennials to ask what age they believe that they're actually an adult, the average answer was 30. And he was thinking that no one would agree with that. And I was like, yeah, no, I agree with that. I'm 25 and I am adulting by all means. But at the same time, I feel like I would like to feel like I'm doing a better job by the time I'm 30. So I think that maybe people older than myself would agree that 25 is a strange age, but feels like an incredible time to be alive with working in a clinic through a pandemic. I'm exhausted, but I'm also fulfilled by all the challenges that adulting has brought. So I have a almost kindergartner, that adorable little child, Bentley, in the bottom corner. There's all those siblings grown up. They all live here in Washington. Have the clinic team there, and then there's my grandpa who just passed away. But I often look around and wonder how I, who have no college experience, and I came from a family of a dozen children, have managed to have the opportunities that I have with service and boards and being the manager of a clinic and being the mother of that incredible child. But I have the goodness of God, good family and friends, and Google to thank. That's all I have. Okay, go ahead.